Welcome to the Scroll Mainnet Celebration live stream. I'm Helena, and I will be your host for a discussion about community. I'm on the comms team at Scroll, and in my free time, I'm a core member of the Department of Decentralization. Through that, we organize events such as Protocolberg and East Berlin. I also volunteered for various East Global events, East India, East SF, and East Buenos Aires. So I've been in the mix for a bit now. Anyway, enough about me. I'd like to let our panelists introduce ourselves as well. Maybe we can start with some intros, and maybe you can talk about what you define as community and what communities you have been involved with. Let's go with Simona.
Hi, everyone. I'm Simona. I currently act as public goods steward in the ENS ecosystem. I advise the Optimism Foundation and am also governance strategist for Element Foundation and Element DAO, as well as a plethora of different things around the Ethereum ecosystem and have done so for a great many years. In terms of community, what was it? What does it mean to me? Yes. All right. Well, community is pretty much, I would say, 80% of what we're doing here, combined with this great technology that we work on. I think without this community, it would be a very, very different ecosystem that we would be involved with. I think witnessing and seeing all of the other different types of communities emerge in different ecosystems, this one remains one that is, based on very aligned values, very aligned motivations, and really consistent and true to its North Star, which hopefully that will continue when we manage to maintain that alignment.
Great. And completely agree. I think, crypto is like an ever-changing landscape. It moves furiously fast. But I think one thing's for sure, one thing is like a real constant, is that community is key, right? And without a strong community, your product is nothing. But anyway, Erica, would you like to go next?
Sure. Hi, my name is Erica Kang. I'm the founder of Crypto Soul, and I'm based in Seoul, obviously. But I've been trying to grow the builder community in South Korea as well as Vietnam over the years, and I'm also the host for Eat Soul, and I've been a friend with all these amazing people since day one. So it's amazing to be here, and I think community is definitely what holds us all together. And it's definitely, I do agree with Simona on various levels, but it's definitely like a network of individuals with aligned values, trust building as well. I think it's really key for community building, and I've been kind of being consistent with that over the years, and I think it really adds up, and it really is now creating a bigger value, which is amazing experience for me. But yeah, and it's really good to be part of this ecosystem and also this bigger community with these amazing organizers as well. So it's this is quite an experience.
Yeah, win-win. No, Joseph, I'll let you go next.
Hi, friends. So my name is Joseph. I am from East Africa originally, and I've lived in so many corners of the world. A big part of the hat that I wear is connecting the global Ethereum ecosystem with various African communities. That's through Borderless Africa. And I also run an early stage fund that is investing in African projects that are actually bringing the original vision of crypto to life, which is real world cases and applications that touch people's lives. Community is such a loaded word. And so I really struggle to use the term in many contexts. But I'm part of many groups of people that call ourselves communities, including land-based communities or the Ethereum community or specific developer communities in Africa. And I guess the key things I'd say is no one builds a community. I think community builds itself. And if we're really aiming for true community, then that's something that actually happens. And we can call it a community after the fact that it's happened. So there's something really beautiful of emergence that happens, that 80-90% of the value you just can't point a finger or touch it. And I think that's a magic that no company or organization can actually drive externally, but really happen through the power of people, power of vision and purpose, and this collectiveness that we see happening. And the decentralized space is so prime for something like that.
Nice. Especially loved your quote on how we don't build community, community builds itself. It's very well put. Juan, last but not least, let's go for you.
Awesome. Well, very glad to be part of this panel and represent Latin America. Definitely very motivating for me joining Scroll to build more of this Latin American community, and now getting to speak about it and give a little bit of awareness over it. But yeah, my name is Juan Molina. I come from Honduras, and I joined the Ethereum Honduras a couple of years ago. Contributed there quite a bit, supporting all of their initiatives, watching it grow from a couple of people, doing a local meetup to eat some pizza, to now being able to host our first big event, Eat Latam, in the near future. And from there, spreading a little bit more, starting in my home country, spreading a little bit more to Latin America in general through Itquipu, Seed Latam, and other great communities out there, neighboring communities in Central America even. And yeah, it's been great so far. And as for what is community to me, I think it's the building block, at least in Web3, that's putting us all together. And yeah, within this kind of like network of people that are driving a similar idea, similar initiative, trying to support more people, trying to get more involved in places where it matters. And I think all of us know how much this can actually impact people. And that's what makes it so motivating for me. Actually seeing how through a community, through something born organically, you can actually change someone's life is definitely something you cannot buy, or something that's not offered as a product. No company can offer this as a product. So yeah, following up with what all these amazing folks have said, I think yeah, the idea of a community is definitely worthless. Is just yeah, I guess it's just so inspiring. And I think especially for Latin America, being able to bring a little bit more of awareness to the region, to what people is doing here, and to how much impact actually Web3 can have in the life of everyday life users it's amazing. Currently also I'm working with Scroll, actually working with the community team at Scroll, trying to reach out to more places, get to know a little bit more of Africa, get to know a little bit more of Korea, get to know about all the places where we think that Web3 can get this impact and people can actually use it for their everyday lives. So excited to hear what everyone has to say about their own communities. And
Yeah, I guess, yeah, I mean, you just kind of gave me a flashback to the days of when, community kind of meant like meetups with 50 people, pizza and beer, right? We've definitely come a long way since then. And I think just kind of following on what Juan said, I'd really love to hear some of the, I guess, success stories or really interesting use cases that you've seen within your communities. Ones that have probably made a big impact as well. Just drawing on an example from East Berlin, we've seen Gorley come out of that, the first edition. I also want to draw on the East India team as an example. I think they do a really incredible job of organizing events, both online and in person, to really bring people together that couldn't otherwise have that opportunity, right? And yeah, so what are some of the interesting use cases you've seen come out of your communities? Don't all jump at once.
I can go first.
Oh, go on, fine. Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. I'll volunteer here. So some of like the nice achievements that have come out from Ethereum Honduras specifically. We've had the opportunity to work really close with the Ethereum Foundation, sharing a lot of their ethos and working really closely with them. And from that, some opportunities have arisen. We're one of like the first few local communities that have opened up a CLR fund round to coordinate funds from the community internally. And yes, so Honduras was able to launch. We're on our third edition of CLR funding grant rounds. And this was basically every round has evolved into different things to basically test and provide feedback to the PSC team on what, QF rounds can look like for not only crypto people or Web3 people, but in general. Our latest round was hosted for public goods projects that were not necessarily into the Web3 ecosystem. So that work closely with the PSC, I think, is very important. We're providing that valuable feedback to like a very important product, I guess, out there. And then in general in Latam, ETHKipo, being part of ETHKipo, is a coalition of local communities around Latin America. So essentially in Latin America, every single country has their own community, and we managed to bring together all of these communities into one blob that we can express ourselves as Latin America. And from there, we've been able to do one of the largest deployments of education in the region in terms of workshops, collaboration between community leaders, etc. So I think those are like very, very nice examples of how we can contribute as communities to the ecosystem and vice versa. And last but not least, this is really important to us, and it was like a very large, inflection point in our local community, Honduras. As I mentioned, we started with, a couple of people going to meetups for beers and pizza. And last DevCon, we were able to sponsor about 30 people to attend DevCon. So for our community, that was like a huge leap. And we expect that in the near future, we can like allow more people to experience that Ethereum ethos. And yeah, as an experience from that DevCon, I actually got more involved in crypto. I met Scroll, I got my job, etc. And I think that's something only a community can drive you to do. So yeah.
Thank you for sharing. Can I jump in? So, I mean, for me, ETHSoul is pretty new. It was just born last year, and so like I wouldn't say like there's been a numerous like array of cases, but I think like people are definitely getting used to the builder culture, and I think spreading the ethos of Ethereum has been really rewarding, and I think people are like pleasantly surprised to find like, hey, this can actually work in Soul. This type of gathering and learning experience and inspirations, exchanges of inspirations can actually happen, in like the span of like 72 hours in the middle of Soul. So I think that kind of experience and feedback has been really rewarding to me. And also just using like DevFolio platform, that's been really, and working with the organizers there, that's been really amazing for me too. And also learning experience for both of us. And so I think just coordinating with a lot of other like organizers, as you guys, for example, has been really one of the outcomes of ETHSoul like experience for me. Organizing that as a whole I think it was a collaboration of all the other communities that were actually actively building their products or their platforms or communities, and so that's been amazing. Also, one of the notable experiences that kind of I could also provide to like ETHSoul maybe winners was that so I host another conference, Middle Asia, right after Eat Seoul, and the winners of Eat Seoul had like several hours to prepare like the final pitch, kind of like modify or improve it a little bit better presentation, and then I gave them some stage space, like stage time during Middle Asia conference to kind of showcase what they've built over the past like 3 days. And so I think like that kind of experience gave them a lot of exposure to the bigger crowd and got a lot of interview offers. And I think they were able to kind of gain some confidence and had the inspiration to build more on the basis of their product. So I think that was really they still come back to me and say, hey, thank you for that experience. And so I think that's a little gift that I could kind of give to them at the end of the day. So yeah, I think that was really some of the things that kind of stuck with me, and kind of, I want to kind of maintain that tradition as well. But yeah, sharing a little about Eat Seoul.
So shall I jump in?
Go for it.
Okay. I was going to wait until the end because mine is a little bit of a synthesis of what we've individually been doing and collectively been doing for all of this time. And I think it really boils down to maybe a couple of key ingredients, one of them being holding space and enabling spaces for people to come together, to collaborate, to express themselves, to bring new ideas to life, to work on whatever it is that they want to talk about, work on, expand on, and so on. And the other one is enabling some degree of resource to come their way. Now, that can be bounties at so many wonderful hackathons that we have and have had in this ecosystem for a good few years now, but also knowledge. And I think that resource of knowledge and pulling from what Juan said and pulling from what this ecosystem has been trying to do is make that knowledge progressively more accessible, progressively more, easily distributed across different regions, across different languages. And I think those ingredients put together is what is keeping this growth trajectory and improvement going from a community perspective, because that lowering the barriers to access and also being able to really take something and run with it at a regional and local community level is incredibly, incredibly important. And the more we see that, the better it's going to get, hopefully. And that's where we reach that level of decentralization, that you don't need to go to this one event that's happening way over here, but you can as easily take all of these local events and really kind of bring them to those same levels.
So without repeating what everyone has said here, some key things that I'd love to highlight around the community landscape and specifically in the African context is there's just so many amazing communities that are very purpose-led or very focused, such as Web3 Bridge, which is a developer community in Nigeria. There's Safari DAO, that is a community in Kenya that's been doing a lot of work. There is Builders Connect, which is a new chat group that started after we did the Layer 2 trip a few months ago. And Ye from Scroll was there as well. And it's kind of been a coordination point of a lot of builders and players. And I guess the key thing that I keep noticing and seeing is that not just now talking about like how to build good communities, but actually how not to build communities, which is very top down ways of doing things, which is, hey, I'm a company, I'm landing here, I need a lot of users who like us, or I need some numbers to show some progress and value at the global stage. And we kind of take a lot of shortcuts, right, of the real human layer work, which is always the hardest bit and the part that there's just absolutely zero KPIs for, but we all know that it's part of the magic around it. And that, when we see stuff like that, and then you see amazing communities that are being built by themselves, they're bootstrapping themselves, no one is giving it any resource or attention, but that's actually where all the magic stands. It kind of creates a very distinct two parallel world of the things that are happening. And I'm like, if you kind of extrapolate 3, 4, 5 years out from now, I see where the biggest value is coming from, right? It's like those really grassroots communities of people who are creating the infrastructure to support each other and do the work that really matters to them, but are not doing things that provide KPIs to bigger layer ones or layer twos who want to do stuff there. They're doing the stuff that really serves them and the ecosystem around them. And that's one of the things that we've been chatting with the Scroll team is as Scroll grows and evolves out of the mainnet launch, how do you kind of enable and be part of those types of communities? You can't even build it or drive it. You can only be part of it, right? So how can you actually do that and be part of that success? And then the community will reward you because you've been part of the journey where it really matters. You're not there to kind of use them as a product, but you are embedded in them.
I'm going to jump in here real quick because I have a really good analogy around this. And I know Erica and I were in another panel in Paris, and I briefly touched on this, is to me, this whole KPI business is a direct transplant from the Web 2 world and just grossly tacked onto this ecosystem that we're trying to really hopefully mindfully build. And it's in that transplanting that the problem lies, because there is no authenticity there. There is no desire or care for what is the quality of the interaction. What is the quality of the relationship? What is it, a dialogue, or is it just, to your point, a top-down, I tell you what I need and you just do it? That is not a relationship, and that cannot survive. It's a very artificial, again, very shallow way of looking at things and approaching things. And that's not community building, by definition. So I think, to your point, it's those communities that are really emerging based on an authentic desire to congregate, to move things, to create things, to produce things, to move things forward. That's where the value lies. That's where the quality is, and so on. So I think really the main conclusion there is what everybody needs to do is to leave their Web 2 boots at the door and start genuinely immersing themselves into creating something that is different. Not just walking all over the place and going, KPI, KPI, where's my KPI? Shut up.
Yeah, the only thing I'd add to that is that's if you're interested in community. You might be interested in just building a user base, and that's totally fine. Just call it what it is.
Sure, right.
But if
that's it, right? Be honest about it. But that's the thing, right? Be authentic. If that's all you want, then it's a very, you probably can do it very easily, but don't start talking about the soul and the core and the values of the community, because there are none. So, yeah.
Yeah, and that kind of brings me on to the next question. What are some of the challenges we feel we're facing trying to build communities, I guess, especially in areas that aren't already that don't have a bunch of money behind them, right? I think funding is key to building a community, but how do we, to Simona's point, how do we balance that with kind of people who just want a virtual signal or just say they've built a community? How do we do better with that? Are there any kind of, things that you've seen that you think that people have really kind of counterbalanced that a lot? Joseph, maybe you've got some examples.
Yeah, my framework for this is, first, you got to go meet the communities where they are and actually spend time. And whenever you're a part of anything that calls itself a community, there is always leadership, and leadership is critical, right? And I know we love kind of non-hierarchical structures, but leadership doesn't mean hierarchy. Leadership means responsibility and someone actually doing the work to drive it. And a lot of those folks are the people who are doing the real work that matters, are the people who are least recognized globally and the people who are least kind of putting themselves and doing all the big talking and conference circuiting and all of that. There are some overlaps, but generally speaking, that's the pattern. And so the part that kind of pains me is specifically even within the Ethereum ecosystem is that we all talk about Africa, for example, and say, hey, let's bank the unbanked, and all the narratives that have really carried the crypto world for more than a decade. And we're still not very active in the markets where that can actually help us drive that vision to reality. So we're not in this speculative rat race that is kind of selling to ourselves and increasing prices at some point and voila, calling it like a revolution. We're not there yet, right? So to truly want to actually create value and have the infrastructures we're building be used for what they're intended for, we need to kind of get under the hood and really connect with the people doing the real work. And people who talk and people who do, it's not always like correlated, right? And so I see sort of this pattern of big brands and big names getting a lot of the attention and energy versus people who are doing the real work. And the reason for it is just, it's hard. It takes time and energy. It's so much easier to kind of sit behind a laptop, and then the names you've heard the most are the ones that you're most likely going to engage with.
I totally agree. And I can't agree more because I think everyone asks for like the numbers, and I'm kind of frustrated because I don't know. I'm focusing more on execution and just kind of like one-on-one interactions rather than accumulating like how many numbers we've got, like how many submissions of course it's important to kind of have it as a reference, but I think the priority is definitely with the like trust building and also learning about the other, individual by individual. And it, as Yosef said, it takes a lot of time. And I think it just kind of builds on each other. And so it took me it's still taking me a lot of time, like 6 years and plus, right? And so I think also in areas like Korea, in which like the builder communities, like the culture is not yet established as much as other regions, it's really a lot of persuasion, a lot of, like giving a lot of comfort, stability, and just kind of saying like, hey, this is actually a safe, atmosphere to kind of also share your ideas openly. And just, I think that kind of giving that trust it just takes a lot of time. And actually me visiting a lot of the universities and talking to students, that also takes time because they need inspiration. They need some, idea building from scratch, basically. And also, just meeting professors as well. I think that also takes a lot of time. So I think it's really like a lot of frustration, I guess, but a lot of the challenges really lies within, how to prove that you're actually doing the building. But in the other hand, we're just like really busy executing, focusing on the people. And so, yeah, I think that's kind of where my gap lies there. So, yeah.
And what about Juan? What challenges? I mean, in Latam, I guess something that kind of would jump straight first to my head is, just lack of accessibility and education, right? And yeah, I mean, I'd be interested to hear your viewpoint on what you think is the challenges faced there.
Yeah, I mean, as hard as it sounds, sometimes, students are more worried about getting that degree. School costs a lot of money, and they need to focus on, what they're paying for. Grown developers, Web2 developers, they need to focus on bringing food to their home. Regular people, they're worried about a billion things. So in Latin America, sometimes Web3 just comes in second priority. Not until they finally see it helping them in their real world issues. So getting this awareness and breaking the culture barrier is definitely difficult. But I think at least what's proving to work for us is that feeling of community, of like actually meeting people and like trusting people. That's what actually breaks that culture barrier. So definitely that's definitely one of the barriers that we find. And also I think we're getting to a point where there are several communities out there, and I think there are different points of views of how we are going to be expanding Web3 adoption. And I think sometimes we just don't align in the world, or like, it's just common that it doesn't work the same way for communities around the world. And going back to that, this idea of showing numbers and like showing how to prove that what you're doing is the right way. There's definitely no right way. Like, I think every single one of our communities has their own way of growing. Some are slower, some are faster, some have some places have more resources than others, etc. But I think an analogy that one of our core contributors uses in Honduras, it's like throwing a spaghetti at a wall, and as long as one of them sticks, we're good. It's working. So it may be slow, but it's about hanging tight in there.
I love the analogies, guys. Brilliant. All right, cool. So I guess we're gonna wrap it up now. Thank you so much for your time. I wish we could have spoken for another hour, to be honest. I think there's some very spicy and interesting discussions to be having. But yeah, it was really wonderful to have you guys, and thank you for your time. And look forward to meeting in person soon. Hopefully in Istanbul.
Yay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. See you in Istanbul.